Had some music today again. Hello everyone, welcome to eLearnChat, where you always learn something new. I am joined today by my good friend, Leslie Price, coming to us from just outside London. She is with learnappeal.org.uk. That is a great charity. Do check them out. It's learnappeal.org.uk. I think you'll find what they do pretty darn cool. And in studio, we've got the Harold. It's Harold Muliati. He's our video producer. Without him, this wouldn't be happening right now. And our guest today, another good friend, somebody arguably one of the most intelligent people in e-learning and training, and maybe the world. But he's also a really good friend, so we're biased. We've got Ajay Pangarkar again from Central Knowledge. It's kind of a Soviet-style name. I like that. Central Knowledge, you will obey. But anyway, here we go.
This show is sponsored by Relay Corporation. Digital learning development, media development, corporate video, management consulting, and more. Visit us at www.relate.com. Thanks.
And we are back and in that center position of power again. It's Mr. Central Knowledge himself. It is Ajay Pangarkar. Ajay, how are you?
I'm well, comrade. How are you?
Comrade. Actually, it's funny because Central Knowledge. I like the name. It's actually cool. But I was going, that sounds sort of Soviet-like. I like it. Okay. But you're right. We need Central Knowledge.
Well, between the Gulag and that wonderful introduction that I don't know how I'm going to live up to, it's going to be an interesting conversation, I guess.
Oh, it always is. And it's funny. Every time you come on the show, we never finish our conversations because there's always something to talk about, and we just keep going. So that's great. So
yeah, I would suggest the next time we have a chat again, and when this whole COVID thing gets lifted, we hike our way to the UK and have the chat on video around a couple of pints with Leslie.
That would be fun.
Except that I only drink, except that there's lots of nice beer and whiskey in the UK, but with me, I only drink white wine. ABC. Anything but Chardonnay.
And I'll have a Diet Pepsi or Coke. I'm good too. Now, what would be funny is
but that would be lovely, Ajay, and bring Teresa with you, and then she and I can do a bit more family treeing.
Yeah. Now, if we brought my
wife along, you guys, I'm just the face of this. I'm the beautiful face of this company. She's the brains of the outfit, so.
Ajay, I have news for you. She's the pretty one.
True, yeah. Leave me live in my little world, okay? So I only have that left, okay?
That's true. Okay, I got it. Yeah, I don't even have that left. So
your Leslie's lovely.
Am I?
No, you. I said you, not you. I said your Leslie is lovely.
Ah, okay, that's funny. Yeah, but if you put a little bit of wine in her, it's hilarious because she's Japanese descent, and not all of them can process alcohol. So if you give her about that much wine, it's not much, right? Not that much wine, she's gone. It's like I had to do a fireman carry off a catamaran in Vancouver. We went from Vancouver to Victoria. And she actually on the way back from Victoria back to Vancouver, and she gets seasick. So she had a little too much Dramamine, one Dramamine, and our friend told us take half. She took the whole thing. I had to do a fireman carry off the boat with her. She was gone, and I made her walk the 10 blocks back to the hotel, half carrying her, half. She's like totally gone. She can't handle anything like Dramamine. A quarter glass of wine and she's gone. She actually had a quarter glass one time, a little quarter glass of wine, and 3 days later she went to take a blood test for, I forgot what it was, and they said she was drunk. I was going, you're kidding, 3 days? It was still in the blood. So Crazy. She can't drink. She cannot drink at all.
Anyway, Ajay, what do you want to cover today, my lovely?
Well, I know Well, thank you for that compliment. I love talking to Leslie because she calls me my lovely, so that's
But you see,
fantastic.
if I
It's
wanted
a great
to, but
start to the
then
conversation. But
yeah,
I know Rick, you've been and Leslie, we didn't get to it last time, but you wanted to maybe breach on the topic that I tend to talk about with lean learning, and so I thought that might
yeah.
be an interesting topic
Yeah.
to because it links around the business side and strategy, and it's something that's reality for L&D people these days.
Yeah, because in the old days, if and not that old ago, it still happens today. If you go in house to a lot of agencies or corporations, what we as consultants do in probably 2 to 3 weeks take them 6 months. And it's not only because they're not that fast at it, they don't do it that often, so they've got to learn how to do it every time. It's like, how did I do this before? So when they're developing e-learning or anything like that, it takes a long time. And which is why a lot of companies do outsource, because the internal staff is overburdened with other things, and then to do development is a whole different skill set. And
Yeah.
But I also think, I don't know what you two think, but I also think if you're working in an organization, and I was chatting about this to somebody today, that you've got an awful lot of tick boxes to go through. So it's not like you're coming in as a consultant. You're actually work for the organization, and you've got a boss and they've got a boss, and they work with somebody else, so they work with another team, and they've got this. So it's almost like you've got a whole, checklist to tick off. Whereas if you're a consultant coming in, one or two people are saying, yeah, that's fine, on you go.
Yeah, a lot of times.
Yeah. No, that's you're absolutely right. And being a consultant for many years, I see a lot of times when I'm brought in, it's to confirm what's already been said, but it's from an outside source that establishes some credibility, and
Yeah.
it's a confirmation. So it's the old saying, right? Nobody gets fired for hiring IBM. So it's that whole approach where you get an outside credible source to confirm what you already know is a good idea, but it needs that confirmation from an outside source. So a bit of the cover your butt kind of syndrome for the senior leaders. But on the lean side, if I can segue into this a little bit, I always tell L&D people, and hopefully quite a few are going to watch this, that be careful what you wish for when you ask for more technology. Because for your business leaders, it's a double-edged sword. It's for not for business leaders, but for the business leaders, it's seen one way. For e-learning, it's seen another way. And you have to be careful when you start asking to develop e-learning or use certain technologies in learning, that the perspective from your business leaders is not meant for what you think you're going to use it for. And that's where lean sort of comes into play, because the concept of lean is not something I created. We all know what Lean Six Sigma is, and if you don't, I suggest you do go research it, because lean is a concept that's fully integrated for the last 50, 60 years in many companies. And so we are now should be part of that process. And that's where L&D tends to get themselves into trouble a little bit.
Well, it's interesting. You mentioned Six Sigma, because a lot of times I've been in enough companies, you probably have too, where in the company, it's not Six Sigma, it's Sick Sigma. Because what they do is, the concept of Six Sigma is wonderful. And Lean Six Sigma is even better, because it gets rid of a lot of the bureaucracy of what could happen in Six Sigma. But you find people, especially because there's a belt system in Six Sigma where you can become a black belt or whatever else. So people don't care that much about what they're fixing in the company as much as they want their belts. It's sort of interesting. So they'll find problems that they've created and then fix them to say, look what I've just done, but you haven't done anything because you've created the problem. And you've probably seen that in Six Sigma before. And it's kind of the dirty little secret of Six Sigma that it often, and you don't hear about Six Sigma now as much as you used to. I'd say about 20 years ago, it was much more popular than it is today. Yeah. And partly because Six Sigma didn't work as well in a services organization until Lean came along, really, because it was a little more bureaucratic, a little heavier, because it was built more for distribution manufacturing processes than it was for a service process. Yeah. Though it does work for both. Now, what do you think the benefit of Lean Six Sigma is?
Well, I don't want to go too down the rabbit hole and to weed too much here, because I don't necessarily feel that L&D needs to know all this significant amount of details. But what it speaks to for on the Lean side for L&D is that we have to figure out a way, and there are ways. I know I've done it. I know people have done it, to deliver learning first for performance impact or performance difference, and in a way that's, let's put it this way, and lack of terms here, but just non-intrusive, non-interfering into the operational processes, because Lean is really about, when we talk about the term Lean, if I want to simplify this for people, it comes from terms like, from the butcher, right? When we ask for a lean piece of meat, we're stripping away the fat, the excess things that we don't need on it. And so that's really what it is. And we're only trying to get the piece of meat that is delivering value for us, that has the most nutrition. And so with Lean in an organization, it's exactly that. They're trying to strip away what is not necessary or not adding value, and stuff that is retaining and supporting value within the organization for monetary or profitability purposes. So at the end of the day, when we talk about technology and we talk about e-learning, it's about, we've come down the road of e-learning, for the last 30 years now, at least, significant iterations of e-learning, different types of e-learning. The term e-learning is used, synonymously with every type of learning that takes place through technology, and so, or managed through technology. So how do we use this technology to make sure we can deliver that value in a very immediate sense that delivers a positive difference to the organization? And that really, in essence, what Lean is about, Lean learning is about.
I think in these circumstances, Ajay, I think the other thing that's really important, it's certainly something that I always did within, when I was working in that kind of environment, was I had a really fantastic relationship with the IT team. I had an absolutely brilliant relationship with them, to the point where I would go down, it wasn't all just about emails, it was going down, it was taking time, it was chatting to people, it was saying, what do you reckon, guys? What actually works? What can we save time on? What security do we need? What should we be doing? How do we make sure that it doesn't fail while we're doing it? And building up that personal relationship with the IT team was absolutely vital to delivering high quality, e-learning, learning technologies.
But it's amazing, Leslie, how little that happens.
But it should happen. It should be happening more.
Yep.
And to me, it's not necessarily about the IT team, because they're brought in and they're just told they're going to be IT technicians. To me, it's about the learning people who are, to all intents and purposes, people. That's why they're doing the job they're doing. It's our job to go down and make friends and build connections. And when you get the IT team on your side, goodness gracious, what a difference it can actually make.
I hear a James Taylor song in that. Anyway, but Ajay, what do you see the difference as? And by the way, Leslie, that's a really good point, because most people don't do that, and they should. You're right. Ajay, what is the big difference, if any, between Lean and Agile? Because Agile is talked a lot about in project management. A lot of L&D people have gone through some sort of Agile training here and there. How is it different, if at all?
Well, no, there's an overlap and similarities, right? And nothing in business is, its own empire or its own, pillar itself. So Agile and Lean. So Lean would be talking about delivering value to the organization in the most effective manner, where Agile is more the adaptive element within lean. You can have an agile environment that is exceptionally lean. So it's the adaptability and the evolution to take things further and moving it down, and that iterative approach that we keep improving on things, or the continuous improvement, the Kaizen kind of approach, where we continue improving things over time. But if I may, Rick, I just want to just take a half step back to what Leslie said, because she broached upon an important topic, and I agree with her 100%. However, what's going to happen is that a lot of L&D people will go running now to IT based on Leslie's recommendation, and hopefully, they will get. I'm teasing you, Leslie, by the way. but at the end of the day, it's more than just that partnership, right? I mean, it's important. It's an important element, but at the end of the day, the L&D is the expert, the subject expert in the field of the people knowledge, right? As Leslie put it, the people, and the technology is the tool that helps facilitate it. So you're bringing in IT to decide what tool to pull out of the toolbox that will deliver that with the most impact and the most agility, if I want to use Rick's point here, and then deliver the most value into the organization. So the IT is that vehicle that delivers that learning that we're going to want to provide impact. But at the same time, we can't forget or shirk our responsibility that when we deliver the learning, we are not delivering learning, we're delivering process improvement or some type of improvement in the organization. But we got to stop talking about learning, is really what I try and tell people. Don't share the secret sauce with the whole company. Nobody cares. And I'm not being smart about this. If you mind, just give me a half a second here. I'm not trying to be smart about this and get people into trouble. I work, you guys know I have a background in accounting, but you never see the accounting or finance department screaming around how they made financial spreadsheets.
No.
Or marketing going around, look how we built the advertising campaign. They're delivering results at the end of it, and we should stop sharing our secret sauce. We're hired for that, but we are hired also to deliver improvement with value. So, to Leslie's point, not just partnering with IT, which is probably one of the most fundamental things you should do, is figure out how to make them your best friend. But I always say the two best friends you should have in a department L&D is your IT and your finance department, because both of them are going. One's going to help you find the money, the other one's going to find you the vehicles, and those are the two things that help deliver that process improvement within the organization. Sorry to be so passionate.
To do that, you don't sit behind HR. You get right up there with the people on the front line. Because it's the people that you are helping to learn, to train, to improve the company, all of that stuff. And you should be working in partnership with them. And sitting behind HR does not achieve that. You've got to be right up front within operations.
And it also depends where the company has the learning department. And that brings up a question. Should companies centralize learning, or should they distribute it? What do you think, Ajay?
It's again, I won't take a position on this because I think it depends on the organization, right? Each environment is somewhat unique. I do agree, it depends on how you are functioning as an organization. Again, learning is one tool in a toolbox of the business leader to deploy how they're going to achieve their objectives. So you really need to consult with the stakeholders within the organization to say, what do you believe is the best way? And it sort of aligns to what Leslie says, not just to be up front and center, but get out of your cubicle or your office and go start talking to people about what they want. I had a mentor who taught, I think I shared this with you maybe in the last time we were together. One of my mentors taught me very early in my career, sell them what they want to buy, not what you want to sell. But we kept trying to push stuff that we want to sell, and that's not going to get any buyers.
No.
So at the end of the day, what we want to do is make sure that we are tying in as a business unit to improve business, and we are a business function. So go out and get and so going back to your question, I don't have a right answer for that. I think you can't go out to look at another organization that's effective and try to replicate in yours if your organization culture is not the same. And it speaks a lot to culture within the organization of how you're going to deploy that. And
add value. You've got to add value. Because if
so,
you don't add
Leslie,
value, what's the point?
you brought up a point, and again, a little bit of shameless plug here. I hope you don't mind, Rick. So we do a lot of courses with LinkedIn Learning, and one of the courses that we've done for them, if people have a license to LinkedIn Learning, I encourage them to go to it, not for any sake, but for learning. Leslie spoke about getting buy-in, and one thing that and this is probably a human nature thing, right? We go to the senior stakeholders to get their approval, thinking that if we get the most senior approval, everybody's going to fall in the line. That's not true. As Leslie pointed out, going back to my saying about sell them what they want to buy, go talk to your frontline staff. Find out what is their pressure points, what is their issues, then go a step up, go to their bosses, the midline managers, operational managers, and say, what are the pressures you're under and why are you not attaining them? What do you feel? And do you feel that we have to play a role in it? How can we work together to build this? And then, it doesn't matter if you get senior stakeholders, you need a grassroots movement here to build that solution. Anyways, and 100%. I have a course on that. So
no, I agree with you. I honestly agree with you 100%. It's not just top down, it's bottom up as well. And unless you can do that, and that also means that within, and this is another thing that people in learning and development don't often realize, is that also how important the admin people are in the teams. Because if you don't have a good admin function within the team doesn't function, So it's not just all about people at the top. It's getting everybody involved. And that, to me, making the admin, making the people who are doing the day-to-day, making them feel part of the team is equally important. And a lot of people forget that too.
Yeah, and it's funny you say that, because the same boss who taught me that saying, Leslie, also taught me, says, never forget the people who have their sleeves rolled up and you need to talk to and engage with them, because they're the ones who are going to sink you or make you a success, because they're the informal connections into the rest of the organization that have influence, and you have to be careful of that. So, and thank you for showing Rick the course. I appreciate that. There's a bunch of courses. We talk about performance metrics and LinkedIn Learning as well, but there's a bunch of courses there I won't get into. But it's important, and when we talk about lean learning, I want to sort of get back into that. We have a lot of valid points here, but one thing, if anybody has to leave this broadcast today with one piece of advice, when we say e-learning, remember the E, what it means to you in L&D, the E is something different. It doesn't mean the same thing to your business leaders or the stakeholders. The E for them is about efficiency, effectiveness, right? Because for us, it's the technology. For them, it's about effectiveness. And because for them, all this technology is just other tools. So before you go begging and groveling for more money to buy that next LMS or that next e-learning software, or whatever it may be, remember, if they give you money, they're expecting some very value-focused, value-driven solutions that do not interfere in the business or do not take away time and downtime in the business. They expect you to integrate into the business, and that's part of that lean concept, is to be more integrative, be less disruptive. And I'm sorry, if you are going to do an e-learning course, it's going to take an hour or 2 hours for somebody to sit. That's not going to get a buy-in from your stakeholders.
No, it won't.
They're getting away from classroom training for 8 hours. They got e-learning. They said you can save time, and we still shove them before a computer for an hour or two. That doesn't work anymore. We have a technology that, it sounds like $6 Million Man. I know I'm dating myself here. We have the technology. We can build it. So.
Yeah, it's true.
That's why I actually don't. I try and avoid the term e-learning and now use technology-enabled learning.
Well, I think currently what everybody's using is digital learning. That's kind of the latest buzzword. It's because it's the same thing, but it's anything digital, or like you said, technology-enabled, or you could call it blended learning, whatever. But there's one thing, we talked about this a little bit last time, and that's, for some odd reason, a lot of people in L&D think their job is to train people. So they go, I've trained 10,000 people this month or this year. Okay, and what did that give the company? I don't know. Okay. So they're training people, but there's no idea whether their performance increased or anything else. We always talk about that, but it's something that still to this day happens a lot of places, and some of them are very large places, and you just kind of shake your head and go, they're still not getting it. We have this LMS and it runs reports. Well, what does a report run? How many people took it and how long they were there? That's useless. Did anything improve? Can you tie it to performance? How? They don't know.
It's interesting. It's interesting you bring that up, Rick, particularly after I mentioned it was the Learning Technologies Awards yesterday. And there was, people apply from all over the world for these awards. And in the categories, in every single category, part of the criteria that you get a gold, a silver, or a bronze award is business performance and individual performance. And business impact, individual impact. And to be a winner, you have to demonstrate it.
Okay. Which is good.
No, it's very important, and those are good things, and I encourage more of that, because it's nice to hear that LT UK is doing that in the awards and probably through some of their competencies, but we have to really push that forward even more. I've always taken an approach, and I hate to use this analogy. I think I used this last time, and I learned this through my experience with working with certain very progressive thinking companies. I won't mention names, but they take a sniper approach. What Rick mentioned, the butts and seats, is that shotgun approach. That's this, or what we used to call, I guess Harold Stolovich used to say, spray. Was it say? I can't remember what was it saying. Something spray. It just slipped my mind. I'm sorry. Spray and pray or something.
Yeah, spray and pray. Spray and pray. Yep.
Yes, spray and pray. We preach all this stuff and hope something sticks, and it's like, no. Yep. Okay, this is not 1975 or 1962. This is 2020, and the say and spray approach or whatever is not going to cut it anymore, at all. And so
you need the other part, which is duck and cover. So you spray and pray, then you duck and cover. That's then you've got it all covered.
So I say this sniper approach because it's a very targeted approach, and I've worked with organizations who do this. I mean, and first of all, it's a cultural thing, right? Because within the organization that these organizations I work with, they don't take learning as an afterthought. It's a fully integrated value within their system, and I've used examples in the past, like Apple and Toyota and stuff like that. These companies have learning not as hey, let's go see what we need training, let's go see them. No, it's more like you're part of the table, you're part of the discussion. We know this is part of a holistic solution, not an afterthought. And how do we make this work? And so when you look at a sniper approach, what we used to do is, at one time, on one occasion, we were helping customer support people become better in their technology support to their clients. And rather than just drag a bunch of people before a computer or put them into a classroom and teach them all these skills, it was more like, okay, what don't you know? Like Leslie said, what don't you know? What is it that's obstructing your job performance? Let's talk about it. And it's not to get you into trouble, it's actually to help you become better. And so, and if they didn't want to disclose that, they found other ways to assess that, those skill gaps. And from those skill gaps, they would target. And it would be either, maybe this person needs a full-blown training, or maybe no, they just need a very targeted element. Maybe it's through coaching, maybe it's through mentoring, maybe it's through simulations, maybe it's through whatever it is. Maybe it's through a real-time on-learning help desk where people can just access that information when they need it, as they need it. What I'm saying is that's a value of learning, right? That's the value of connecting to the business, as Leslie put it, the business impact. And it's not hard to measure. The performance metrics are there. Don't make them up. They already exist. Tie into them and show that difference.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yep. Well, before we wrap up, we've got a couple minutes left. How do people get to lean in learning?
So, the short answer is, and this is not probably the most effective answer, but the short answer is, when you're looking at technology that you have, again, going back to working with IT as well, but the technology that you currently possess, what are you doing to get that learning into the hands of the users in a way? And it doesn't have to be a huge dramatic thing here. It just how do I get that learning into the hands of the person or people who need it, and how can they apply it very quickly? So how do I use that technology to do that without disrupting in the internal function of the organization? Because remember, you have to respect what your senior leaders or stakeholders want at all levels, at all stakeholders. They don't want business downtime. Any downtime is a loss of money for them. And when it is downtime, look for opportunities to capitalize on that. So there's always cycles in the business you can engage in with people. And when those downtimes come, I know a lot of companies do that. They know when they're down cycles, and they start investing significantly more money in their down cycles, because they won't, when the up cycle comes, there won't be time for that, and the people will be prepared. So find those small opportunities to make those wins, and just showing that 5 or 10% increase in value already puts you on the path to becoming lean and that on that road. However, that's the short answer. I know it didn't sound like a short answer. Sorry, Rick. The long answer is it's a cultural shift, right? You have to have a company and stakeholders that believe that this is the way we need to do it. And unfortunately for me, and I say that with a great, tongue in cheek a little bit here, but unfortunately for me, I get to work with a lot of progressive organizations that have that culture established already. So when I walk in there, it's not an argument. It's not an uphill climb to convince them that learning makes sense. They're converted. They preach the gospel of it, and so that's the longer answer. But if you want those small wins, just find opportunities to, wedge your foot in the door and find opportunities to make sure you can prove that the learning made a difference. And that's very simple, because people will tell you, I need to produce so many widgets an hour, and I'm only producing half of that. Okay, what don't you know to produce the other half? And then when you can increase that production rate by 10 or 15 or 20%, maybe not 100%, you've just shown a win for the organization. They're very simple. And I'm not a genius here. I know you try to make me out like that, the most intelligent person in the world. I'm far from it, Rick. I believe there's simple answers to these issues. It's just, are you willing to accept it?
I told you he was smart. Yeah.
Keep it, it's what I was saying the last time. KISS. Keep it simple, stupid.
Yep.
And,
there's
Leslie,
there's an awful lot to be said for that.
We know how to overcomplicate things in L&D significantly.
That is true. Yeah.
I don't understand it, because I come from a very pragmatic approach. Maybe it's my financial background and my accounting background. I come from a very pragmatic approach, and it's important that we don't overcomplicate things. Look for the simplest solution, and that's part of the Agile. That's part of this lean. It's the simplest point from point A to point B is what you want to do. Don't conflate it or inflate it, whatever you want to call it.
I think next time you're on, we need to talk about the hubris in e-learning and L&D, because there's a lot of arrogance in a lot of L&D departments, and you just go, you're part of a company. You're not an academic professor somewhere, creating whatever world you want. You're part of a company, and they don't understand why they get laid off all the time. It's pretty simple. More often than not, they're not significant to the company because they haven't produced much, and that's sad. But that's kind of a reality of what we see a lot of, and a lot of it has to do with arrogance. And there's just no place for that when you're in a team environment trying to get things done for other people. That'll make
there's that arrogance, but there's also, I think it's because they believe the altruistic element of that learning is very important. It's an important element within human beings. But what, to your point, Rick, I live by this saying, and I tell L&D people that have that sense, quote unquote, arrogance. Don't forget, you're a business unit within a business expected to deliver business results. Right. And what's in common in that whole phrase? And so, just job. Like you're more special than marketing or finance or accounting or IT or production. You're just another enabling support value function within the organization to deliver results. And what are you doing to do that? So if you don't deliver results, then unfortunately, I hate to be so arrogant on my part to say this, but you deserve your budget to be cut if you're not delivering value.
It is sort of
and
a shame.
I'm not an accountant, but I'm an economist at heart. So it was economics, applied business economics that I studied, and that's probably worse than accountancy.
I love economics.
Because if you're actually, studied applied business economics, it's all about demand and supply.
Mm-hmm.
And, at the end of the day, making it work with a good business economic reason why it works and what the consequences of either doing something or not doing something are. As I say, it's imagine, my claim to fame. Oh yeah, I'm an economist. I've even got a degree in it. Oh.
Yep.
I will say this: if anybody wants a piece of advice to start down this path, this journey, is go back to what Leslie said earlier. Right? Get out of your cubicle, get out of your office, go find an operational department that needs you. Maybe they don't even know you need you. Maybe they don't even need you right now. But go learn about their business because you want to become their partner. And the more vested you are in learning about their business, the more you can sit with them and decide what is the need, what is the performance expectations, what is the best way to approach the department. When do we deploy it? All those questions that you need to ask. Show some interest in these people because they're paying for your budget. And just like when I go to Walmart or any other store to ask for my refund, or Costco when I ask for my money back because the product didn't deliver, these people unfortunately don't have the opportunity to do this, but they should. If they've given their money to allocate to training of their employees and they're not getting the results they deserve, then they deserve to come back to you, L&D, and say, I want my money back because you didn't deliver.
Yep.
So at the end of the day, go become their best friends, become their therapist.
Yep.
And then that will open doors for you. Trust me.
Absolutely. Agree with you 100%. And it's incredible the difference it makes. And the word actually spreads up throughout the organization. So it ends up that you then get, I've ended up with the chief exec calling me in saying, I'm hearing really good things about what you're doing. Can you share it with the senior team? How is it that you're managing to achieve this?
Yep. 100%, Leslie, and and don't be the 3-year-old with the new toy. Don't go looking for new things. Use what you have before you start asking for new stuff.
Exactly.
That's true.
Yeah.
Well, anyway, with that, we are at the end of the show. Ajay, as always, we appreciate having you on, and it goes fast. And
I love being here with you guys. You guys are so much fun.
Oh, so are you.
You are too, Ajay. You are too.
It's a good time. So anyway, if you're watching the show, subscribe, give us feedback. This has been on LinkedIn Live. It will also be live on Facebook at the same time. And we are then uploading the file later to YouTube. So you've got plenty of places to watch the shows and engage. Harold, nobody engaged today, right?
No, we had a few people watching.
We
but
had
no
people
one said
watching
anything.
live, but nobody engaged.
I got to be more provocative next time.
They're afraid. Anyway.
Thought of Leslie and Ajay and Rick together. Ooh, too scary.
Oh,
That's
what
scary.
I'm tuning to, and I swear I hope this happens one day, that we all have, Leslie with her white wine and us with pints, or me with a whiskey, and have this chat after after we back away a few.
Yep, that'll be fun. It'll be interesting. Anyway, well, have a good one, everyone. And we will see you next week on eLearnChat. Actually, no, we won't see you next week. It's Thanksgiving week over here. We will see you the following week. So if you're in the States or wherever you celebrate Thanksgiving, we hope you have a great one. Enjoy the holidays. I think you're allowed to have the holiday here in the States in the bathroom by yourself near the toilet. That's about all you can do. Have a nice one, everyone. Bye-bye. Thanks.
Thanks, everyone. Bye.